Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is actually one of my most requested videos, and it is to do an updated wear and tear on my ultra matte navy Lady Dior. So this bag I've had for approximately 2.5 years now. And sometime last year, I actually did like a full-blown review of this bag. So if you're interested in like mod shots and videos of like what it looks like on the inside of the bag and how to style it and all that stuff, I'll link that review up here. But today's video is going to be focused specifically on the wear and tear of this bag. I think in my review, I said that there hasn't been any wear and tear on that bag at that point. I think I did the review when I owned it for about 9 or 10 months. So yeah, some things have changed about the wear and tear of this bag, and I will go into it in like very fine detail. So if you're interested, then just keep on watching. So I first want to say that none of the wear and tear that I'll be mentioning in this video is crazy out of the ordinary, and I would say that it's all kind of to be expected. It's what I would consider to be normal wear and tear. So first, let's talk about the leather. And the first thing that I want to say about the leather is that this kind of matte leather is a crazy dust magnet. So I took a bunch of photos to kind of like show you more clearly the wear and tear. And I tried to basically wipe off all the dust in that area before I took a photo. And in the span of time that it took me to put down my microfiber cloth and pick up my phone for the camera, it would basically have a bunch of dust on it. And yeah, that kind of just shows you how easily this attracts dust. And the part of this bag that attracts the most dust is this back part of this flap opening right here, so where it connects to the bag. So much dust gathers in that little crevice right there, and yeah, you can get it off if you have enough patience. You kind of have to push against this and really go in there with a cloth or something like that. So yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way. It's not really wear and tear, but it is quite a big annoyance on a darker colored bag. You probably wouldn't really notice it if you got one of the lighter colors in this kind of like ultra matte line that they offer. But yeah, this navy one, it is very apparent. Now this leather, while it doesn't feel as delicate as lambskin, in a way, I'm actually even more careful with this bag compared to my lambskin classic flap from Chanel. And I think the reason is mainly because, you know, even though the leather itself isn't delicate, this kind of finish is really easy to ruin in a way, because if you get any oils on this bag, you will see that it gives it like a sheen which isn't supposed to be there. So for example, on these handles, I wasn't really able to capture it in photos, but because, you know, like I'm just holding it like this all the time, I mainly use this bag as a top handle bag. Since I'm holding it like this all the time, you know, when I have lotion on my hands or just like the natural oils on my hands, the more I hold it like this, the more I can see that it has developed like a kind of sheen here. Of course, you can wrap like twillies or the Dior Mitza scarves on the handles, but I did mention this in my review of this bag that really changes up the look of this bag, which the reason I bought this is because it has sort of like a more casual, edgy look to it. So I don't like doing that, but yeah, you will get a little bit of like oil transferred to the parts of the bag that you touch the most. So there was one incident where I kind of got a bit of hand sanitizer on this bag, like one droplet on here, and I got very worried, of course, but I basically kind of like dabbed at it and it didn't really leave any marks. I mean, I can't even remember where exactly it happened anymore. It was somewhere on the front, but I can't really see any signs of it anymore. I think if you're quick to remove it, then it wouldn't cause any lasting damage on the bag. But I do want to mention that there are some, like all over the front especially, there are these tiny little specks of, how I would describe it is like if you get something like a sugary type of water, if you get that on any type of surface, when that dries, it almost leaves this kind of slightly shiny finish. And that's what it kind of looks like to me on the front. There's like a few specks here and there. And what I assume that to be is, you know, if once again, if I got like some hand sanitizer on it, but it was so small that I didn't really notice it, or, you know, if I just got some water on it and it dried, I think it left, you know, like some marks here and there. It definitely isn't something sticky, even though I said it kind of resembles that type of finish. It's not sticky and I can't really rub it off or anything, but with this type of leather, I'm kind of afraid to, you know, do anything major to it. I don't want to put any leather conditioner on it because I think that will take away from this type of finish of the bag. And yeah, anything that I do to it, I think it's just going to, you know, like make those tiny little specks even bigger. So it doesn't really bother me. You don't really see it from afar, and I'd rather it look like this rather than trying to fix things and actually ending up making it worse. And the last thing that I want to mention about the wear and tear of the leather is on the flap. So I think throughout this video, you're going to notice kind of like a pattern of the wear and tear on this bag causing this matte leather or the hardware to turn a little bit shinier. And I think the same thing goes for what I'm about to mention on the flap of this bag. So when you open this flap, it's inevitable that part of this leather is going to touch these rings that join the bag to the handle. So where it pushes up against the rings, it kind of leaves a little bit of a mark there. In my opinion, it makes the leather look a little bit shinier in those areas. It's not like if you were to get the lambskin versions of these bags where those parts, you'll see that the leather is dented. It's not the case with this. It's not really an indent at all. It's just that the leather seems like, you know, it got rubbed against a little bit, so it does look a little bit shinier there. But yeah, aside from that, this looks like really great condition. It really isn't much wear and tear whatsoever for 2.5 years of owning it. Of course, there was a span of time last year where I didn't really use it at all, but aside from that, I've been getting a good amount of use out of this bag. So for 2.5 years, I definitely think that this has worn really well. Okay, so now on to the wear and tear of the hardware. And I think chipping is overall the biggest concern that people have about getting these types of coated hardware, whether it's from Dior or Chanel or YSL or any brand that does this type of hardware. So the good thing is that I haven't noticed any chipping in the sense of like pieces of this coating flaking off, but that doesn't mean that this hardware is perfectly pristine anymore. So I think the main thing is that on the bottom, this bag does have the 4 feet at the bottom, and at the very tip, you can kind of see some silver. It's really just at the very tip, and if I feel it, it doesn't feel like there's any bumps or anything, so I don't think that any of the coating has completely chipped off or anything. It's just probably the case that it rubbed off a little bit, so it's revealing the silver metal underneath. And all 4 of these feet look exactly the same, so they're wearing exactly the same and completely evenly across the 4 feet. And yeah, it's at the bottom of the bag, and the feet are there to protect the leather on the bag, so I'm pretty okay with that happening. Now, as for the hardware on the rest of the bag, as I mentioned, there is kind of like a pattern when things start to wear a little bit on this bag, it will end up looking a little bit shinier. And that's the case for the hardware on these charms as well as the rings up top. So where you have the most rubbing, that part of the hardware does look a little bit shiny, and it's not the type of thing where like if you rub at it, it'll go away. It's basically permanent. So these handles have a tendency to fall over all the time. Just the smallest gust of wind will knock these handles over. So because of that, every single time it falls over, it hits right at about here, kind of like right at the front at like a 90-degree angle. So that part really is the shiniest out of all of the hardware, and it goes for all 4 of these rings. So I'm going to be showing photos of every single one of them, and yeah, it's visible for each one of these rings. And then for these Dior charms, there is quite a bit of kind of like, I don't want to call them scratches necessarily, but I guess that's the best term for it. There are a bunch of these kind of like shiny looking scratches, mostly on the O charm, because all these other charms that are on top of it just bang against it all the time. So especially kind of like where the I is rubbing against the O, that part you can see a very clear kind of like scratch on it. And also on the right over here, which I assume is coming from the R, yeah, those are the main parts that have this type of wear on the hardware. And also, I would say that this kind of wear and tear does not happen that fast. I mean, as I mentioned, I did like a review of this bag 9 months after owning it. And at that point, none of this was visible, but I've had people DM me on Instagram asking me if it's normal for a brand new Dior bag, this exact bag that they bought, to have that type of shiny hardware. And I would say that it's definitely not normal. I'm assuming that, you know, as it's on display or customers are trying it on in the boutiques, maybe it's, you know, people don't always treat display bags with the most care. So I'm assuming that, you know, over time that has happened to a bag. And even though it's brand new and you just bought it, yeah, it has been kind of in a way used by other people. So I would say that if that was the case, to ask the sales associate to give you like a new one from the back or transfer a different one in, because yeah, as I mentioned, this doesn't happen that quickly at all. And for the crossbody strap, there is a little bit of hardware on the hooks at the end. I have used it like sometimes. I always keep it in my bag just in case I need to hook it on really quickly and be hands-free. So it's not that I haven't used it, but I haven't used it enough for that type of shininess, scratches to happen on the hooks of this crossbody strap. So yeah, like I mentioned, it's not something that happens quickly. And I would say that it definitely shows that the bag has been carried a decent amount for it to show those scratches. So yeah, if you're buying a new one, I definitely do not think that it's okay to accept that, because one of the beauties of this bag is definitely that it looks matte. And if I caused it myself, then okay, that's fine, because I've gotten my enjoyment out of this bag, but shouldn't be the case for sure if it's brand new. So that is it for this video, updating you guys on the wear and tear of my Ultra Matte Lady Dior. And I really hope that this was helpful for you guys. I know that there isn't many information on YouTube about this specific bag. There's a lot of information about the Lady Dior in general, but not specifically about this matte range that they have. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please do give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do consider subscribing for new videos every single week. And I'll leave 2 videos on the screen for you to watch next. So I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.